So to make a faux bag, only two materials are absolutely necessary, which is a ball of faux yarn, a ball of 100g faux yarn, that's 100 grams of faux yarn, and then a 6.5 millimeter hook. You could, if you're using a zip to close your bag, you should get a zip. You know, that would involve you getting needle, thread of that color, or of the color of your bag, and then a zip to sew it in. If you're using a magnetic clasp, then you need to get a magnetic clasp, obviously, to use to close your bag. And if you're lining the bag, then you need to get lining, needle, thread, and whatnot. Now this tutorial is just going to show you how to make the bag proper. Now you're not going to be seeing much of the work because it's a yarn that the major difficulty in using this yarn is you're not going to be seeing much of what you're doing. So just watch my technique and maybe follow my pattern, and maybe you would get the exact same results that I get. First things first, I also dig in. I will just dig into my yarn to get the middle. It's not supposed to be this hard to get that middle pull. Sorry if my voice is low. Again, this is 2 a.m. This is the only time that I have to record. So now we're going to start with a chain of 20. So quickly, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You see that we have our starting chain. Now chain 2, 1, 2. To begin our, remember, look at how the way I'm doing it, right? This is where my chain 20, this is my chain 20, that's where my hands are on. If you cannot be very hands-on in the use of faux yarn, or if you can't really feel your hands, then stitch markers are very, very necessary. I should add that at the beginning of the video, that stitch markers are also very essential when you're working with faux yarn. But because me, I just kind of feel my way around it, I don't necessarily use stitch markers. Like, these are the two materials that I use. So remember, keep your hand on your 20th stitch, then you chain 2, then you place a double crochet into that first stitch. I'm going to drop my yarn, and then you place another double crochet in that same 20th stitch. Yes, now your work is progressing. Now you're going to place one double crochet in each of the chains that you've done. You can't see your chains, it looks like a thicker pile of faux yarn. So again, my technique is just to feel for the chains, feel for the holes. Like, you don't really, the point is not to see, which is why I was so surprised that people were asking me for a tutorial. I've been holding back on this tutorial because the thing is, you guys are not going to see much of what I'm doing because I don't see much of what I am doing. So remember to be counting so you don't lose. Now imagine, okay, you've made a lot of stitches. How do you start counting? Again, you feel, this is my chain 2, I can feel it. Then my increase, remember we made an increase on the first one. Okay, so that's 1, that's 1 chain. 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm counting by feeling the holes in between the stitches. 6, 7, 8. That means I should make 12 more double crochets. These are 12 more chains left. So you're going to keep going. 18, 19, and as I had predicted, there's one more stitch here to place my 20th. See, so we are done with, well, we're not really done, but this is how we should be looking. You can't really see anything, it should look flawless. Okay, I've zoomed the camera a bit because we need to be seeing what's happening. So this is how it should be looking. Don't worry that you can't see your stitches. we're not going to rely on our eyes in this tutorial. So in that same, remember, this is how we're differentiating them. Putting your hands through the holes and all that. So now in this last stitch where you've placed your 20th DC, or in this your 20th chain now from the top, you're going to place another double crochet. You can hide your tail as you're working. Another double crochet and another double crochet. So you've made 3 double crochets into this last stitch, or into this last chain, and that is how you're going to turn. Now, following the double crochets that you've already crocheted on this side, you're going to be making 19 double crochets, just going along the chains that we've already established. It should be easier because now you're just going under the double crochets that you've already made. So remember to always count 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to be doing a lot of filling. 5. Okay, now I have made the required number. Before I make my 19th stitch, because this is 18 now, okay, counting from our last stitch, I've made 18 stitches, and this is supposed to be my 19th, from the last. I am going to remember that this is where we started with an increase. I'm not going to join. I'm going to continue and make a double crochet into that chain where we did our increase, right? And this would be my 19th from after our increase that we did at the beginning. And then I'm going to join. I'm not going to join at the chain 2. I'm going to join from the first double crochet that I did. So you're going to have to feel for that double crochet space. Yeah, got it. And then you're now going to join your work. And there you have it. You have made your actual first row of your bag. Now, if you've gone through this is the most difficult phase. So don't be scared and say, oh my God, what kind of bag is this? Basically, once you're done with this base, then the rest of the bag will be a breeze, because the technique of the base is the same technique that we're going to be using all through the bag. So first things first, you chain 2 after joining. Let's do that. I did that off camera. Let me do that again. In this, making this, your hands are your best friend, honestly. So 1, 2. Now you're going to feel for the double crochet that you joined into, and you're going to make another increase. 1 and 2. All right. Now we're going to double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next stitch. Now let me give you a piece of advice. Before I proceed, I just want to say I realize how confusing this can look. So I'm going to use safety pins as my stitch markers. I'm going to add a stitch marker in my first double crochet space. So this is my chain 2. This is my double crochet. I'm going to add a stitch marker in my double crochet space, the first one, so I can know where I'm joining at, right? Because I understand this has become like second nature to me. But the first time that I was making a bag, I kept on missing where I was supposed to join, because you see it can look very confusing. So make sure you use a stitch marker to mark this area. So we continue. A double crochet in each stitch. Just keep double crocheting in each and every stitch that you find until use of your hands. Like, this entire tutorial is a how to use your hands to crochet because I don't know what you guys are saying, honestly. So now we've gotten to the point where we've got, remember that last stitch where we put 3 double crochets, and exactly this is where we now are. Again, if you cannot pinpoint this, then you probably should put a stitch marker, but it's pronounced. So yeah, we reached that point where there were 3 stitches in one, there were 3 double crochets in one stitch. So what we're going to do is do 1 double crochet on the first stitch, 3 double crochets in the middle stitch, and then 1 double crochet in the one on the in the last stitch, and yeah, continue double crochet and putting a double crochet in each and every stitch until you get to the end of your row. These increases that we made now in the second row is the very last of our increases, which is why I didn't say, oh, put a stitch marker anywhere, because this is a very last increase that we're going to be having. The rest of the bag is going to be us double crocheting repeatedly into every single stitch. Okay, here we are at the end of our row. Remember, we put a stitch marker, our own stitch marker here to mark this is the beginning of our second row. So what we're going to do now, remember that we made an increase here, we're going to make a double crochet in that first stitch that we began with, and we're going to join in, where we've placed our stitch marker. We're going to join, which is that indicator of our beginning DC. We'll join there, and there you go. You have made your second row of your beautiful bag. Don't mind this tail, it will be cut off at the end of our bag, but let's just continue. Now you're going to chain 2, and then you're going to double crochet in that same space. Don't forget your stitch marker. Alright, now let's move. Remember, filling with our hands, we're going to make 1 double crochet in each and every stitch. No increases this row. In each and every stitch until the end of the row. Guys, we have come to the end of our third row, and of course this is our stitch marker, our makeshift stitch marker for tonight, and we're going to join in that very hole, and we're going to start our 4th row. So we're just going to keep on basically crocheting around the bag. Remember to always place, it's going to save you a lot of confusion. And then we're going to keep crocheting around with double crochets for a couple more rows. So from the 3rd row to the 7th row is going to be just double crochet all around, and I'm going to keep double crocheting all around until the end of the 7th row, and I'll meet you there. Remember, the key to not missing stitches and not adding increases and not making mistakes is to feel for the stitches with your hands and to continue counting. So whenever you're counting and you've gotten a stitch wrong, it's a sign for you to go back and start all over again. After 7 rows of crocheting, this is what you should have: this beautiful bag body. Now you might not like the length of your bag, you might want to add another row. That is up to you, that's completely optional, but this is what we're going to be working with. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is the bag hand. Now this requires even more stitch markers. Remember, we don't have stitch markers here. I'm going to be using the safety pins as our stitch markers. So what you're going to do is a lot of counting, you know. You're going to count, remember, using your hands, you're going to count the 4 ends. So I like to start from the first double crochet, the double crochet that I joined into, and just count 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the 4th one I'll close my stitch marker. Do you understand? And then I can now start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can do it on the opposite end so you'd get the exact one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's move together. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I just made an entire video on how to make your handle, your bag hand, and I lost it. So let's start from the beginning. So the first thing to note is that a bag hand should be sturdy. So we're not going to be using double crochets to make this hand. We're going to be using single crochets instead. And you know, it was very convenient that I started my hand from when I joined, from the last stitch I joined in, so that there would be no need for cutting and joining. So yeah, remember we just counted 4, so don't mind that I've removed the stitch marker. Remember, it was 4. We are going to just count 4. So if you're counting, you know, you will not make any unnecessary mistakes. So let's go. You're going to chain 1 to start the handle, then into your first DC, you're going to into the first stitch that was a DC, you're going to make a single crochet, and then you would want to mark this one so you can remember where you started with or from. Then you're going to make 1 single crochet in the remaining stitches. So there's 1, 2, this is 3, and this is 4. So we're going to be working in single crochets. It's a bit trickier, but you know, it's just 4, so you can be counting and you wouldn't miss any stitches. Now some people like to chain 1 when they are making single crochets. I don't. I just continue on with making single crochets. So I'm just going to continue making single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I found that it makes my single crochet project straighter. I might make a separate video on how to make straight lines with single crochets and double crochets. All right, so let's do what we did again. This is basically what you're just going to be doing. If you like to place stitch markers on the beginning and the end of your rows, that's also advisable, but the most important thing is that you're counting and you're feeling, so you wouldn't miss any stitch. You're just going to be making 4 single crochets in each row until you've reached your desired your desired bag arm length. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4. You just keep working like this. You just 4 single crochets in each stitch as we progress until you reach your desired bag arm length, as I have said. And it would differ if you want a short bag, if you want a long bag, a bag that you can, you know, sling over your shoulder. Okay guys, so I'm just going to keep working on my arm, and I'll see you when I get to my desired length. I have made an arm that is as long as I want my bag arm length to be. I reduced the length of my ideal bag arm with like 2-3 rows, by like 2-3 rows, because I know that this yarn gets, you know, it's a bit stretchy. Even though we've used the single crochet stitch, you know, this, which is as tight as it can be, when you put heavy things into the bag, it still has the capacity to sag a bit. So I just removed like 2-3 rows from what my ideal bag length would be. And then we are going to go into, you know, we put this our stitch marker into the opposing 4 stitches of our beginning 4 stitches. So our beginning 4 stitches are the stitches of the arms, and we put a stitch marker to mark the opposing ones. So what we're going to do is that we're going to join into those 4 stitches. Now you join with a slip stitch. Let's see, make sure the bag is positioned at the right side, and then I'm just going to insert my hook into the first stitch. Now I'm sure my hook is here. I can finally remove my stitch marker. So insert my hook into the first stitch and then slip stitch, and then just insert my hook into the second single crochet, and then also into the second stitch, slip stitch as well. So we're just going to join with slip stitches. Remember to feel for the yarn. Then into my very last stitch, I'm also going to make a slip stitch. And now I'm done with the 4 slip stitches. I'm going to make another slip stitch and just cut my yarn. And there you have it. Your bag is almost complete, but wait, it's not yet complete, because you still have to weave in your yarn. Weaving in. 1, 2. Sometimes I use 7mm, sometimes I use 6.5. So you can also use a 7mm hook if you don't have a 6.5mm hook. So, and there you have it. This is how I make my 4 yarn bags. Very simple, very easy tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment. I keep telling you guys, please comment what tutorial you want to see next. Genuinely, I don't make tutorials until somebody has asked me, please make a tutorial. So guys, comment, like, share, subscribe. You know the vibes. I'll see you on my next one. Bye.